Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a new game called Winter Burrow. This game was released on Steam on November 12th, 2025. Its regular price is $23.99 Canadian or regional equivalent, and it's developed by Pine Creek Games and published by Noodle Cake. Winter Burrow is a cozy woodland survival game about a mouse returning home to restore their childhood burrow. Explore, gather resources, craft, knit warm sweaters, bake pies, and meet the locals. So this game is absolutely adorable. Like it mentioned, it's a cozy survival game. When I looked at the screenshots, it looked like a little Don't Starve-y. I guess that's my main survival game that I can reference. But set in, it looks like just this beautifully illustrated children's book of this lovely little mouse. The art style definitely reminds me of like a certain kind of children's book, I guess. I don't know, let me know if anybody can like pinpoint the art style a bit better. In this game, you play as a young mouse who lived with his parents in their burrow. Their house is called the Burrow out in the woods, but they felt that the woods were a little bit too dangerous, that the parents did, and so the three of them moved to the city. And the city was very tough. The parents were only able to get jobs in the mines, and it was very hard on them, and they passed away. And the mouse has had enough of the city and decides to return to the burrow. And this all happens in the first like minute and a half of the game. And so the mouse travels all the way back home to the wilderness to find the burrow. In a bit of a mess. You can still get inside, but a lot of stuff needs repairing. And that's really where you start doing the survival part. You have to go out and gather twigs and stones and fiber in order to make yourself a bed, repair your cozy armchair so you can knit things, and you very quickly get into this little survival game groove. You gather the materials, you make yourself an axe to gather twigs better, you start turning the flax into linen fiber, which you can then use to craft yourself a nice set of linen clothes, because you show up in your city mouse clothes, and they just look nice, but they don't give you any protection from the titular winter. But the linen clothes you can craft right at the start. Each part, there's a hat, a top, and bottoms, give you 5% each to cold survival. You can also repair the little stove that's in your house. You can use that to turn the various mushrooms and nuts and seeds and things that you find out in the wilderness into various meals. You've got the normal survival bars in the bottom left. You've got your health, you've got your hunger, you've got your warmth, because obviously it's set in winter, and you've also got your stamina. I found this to be kind of like a survival light game. The survival is very, very easy. I've been burnt out on survival games for years at this point. Maybe something to do with playing Don't Starve for hundreds of hours for a long time. But yeah, I just don't really like the survival genre anymore. But this one looked so cute, I had to take a look at it. And I found that survival in this is quite easy. I think it's definitely more of a story game than a proper survival game. The survival aspects do seem to kind of be secondary to experiencing the story of the game. Case in point, I think outside of maybe the first half hour of the game, I literally never worried about my hunger bar. It just never went down enough for me to need to worry about it. Your heat bar, you definitely have to worry about it a bit, but I never took damage from it running out completely. You can run back inside your house and sit by the fire to instantly warm up. As you explore more, you'll find some NPCs with quest lines for you, and if you go stand next to the NPCs, they will also warm you up. You can find like old fire pits out in the world. Not a ton of those, but if you've got the right item on you, I think it's like fire starter, like kindling, something like that. You can light a fire there and warm yourself up and even spend the night there if you want. But you're also able to make at the stove these biscuits using the different types of seeds. So like the pine biscuits from pine seeds and other ones. But the thing is, I think I only had to cook meals at that stove just a handful of times, because you as well as your axe, you get a pickaxe and also a shovel, typical survival tools. And with your shovel, you can see these raised snowy bumps on the ground. Once you know to look for them, you'll recognize them. And if you go dig those up with your shovel, you can find all sorts of items from those, including the pine biscuits that I just mentioned. And the pine biscuits, in particular, recover 25 hunger and also 25 warmth. And so I've literally made one pine biscuit the entire game. And when I stopped playing to record this video, I think I had 12 in my inventory just from digging things up. So I would go out on like a scavenging mission and not even have to like chop anything down. I would just kind of dig things up. And I would come back home and go to my chest, my storage chest, and I would just have so much food in my inventory, and I didn't cook any of it. It doesn't go off or anything. So I was able to just walk around with these pine biscuits. And that was enough for me, you know, didn't have to worry about my hunger bar, my heat bar. I don't know if that's because, like I said, it is kind of more a survival light game, or if it's just a balancing issue. I'm not really sure, because it does feel kind of weird to be given a stove in your house and not really have to use it. Like, you will just find all the food you could ever need by walking around with a shovel. I mentioned the NPCs you'll find throughout the game, and yeah, those are essential to the story. And in fact, you can't even do the main story without doing some of these NPC quest lines. They're okay, they're not too bad. You've got a quest log in your menu. You can always keep one pinned to your HUD if you want, and you can also keep a crafting recipe pinned to your HUD, which is quite helpful if you're, didn't want to memorize that you need 15 granite or something. You could just have that pinned, so you'd always remember how many of certain items you needed. But the thing that bothered me the most about the NPC quest lines is that I found it extremely easy to get lost in this game. You can find like dark, shadowy patches of ground at the edge of each map, I guess, and if you go into that, you'll move into the next location of the map. And at the start, when you haven't unlocked anything, the map's very manageable. There's like 3 screens you can go to, and that's about it. But as you start progressing further in, you get more and more of these screens that you can go through, and at a certain point I just found it so hard to get back to the NPCs to do any of their quests, because I just had no idea how to find my way around the forest. And so that is absolutely my biggest issue with this game, is it desperately, desperately needs a map. I wouldn't say it's quite unplayable without a map or a compass or something, but it really, really needs one, and I would actually, as much as I'm enjoying this game, I would suggest holding off until they have added a map, because it's so difficult without it. Like, so difficult that I feel like if I don't finish the game today, I'm not going to be able to play for another couple of days, and I'm sure if I tried to get back into it after even a couple of days break, I'll have no idea where I'm going, and I'll probably just have to drop it. I even took like a 40-minute break for lunch today, and when I got back to it, I was still like instantly lost, so I can't imagine how bad it would be after a couple of days. So yeah, this game needs a map. People have mentioned it on the forums. The developers have said they're going to look into it, but they're a small team. I really like this game, but I would not recommend getting it until there's a map. Right now the game does feel like maybe it launched a little bit too early, or maybe it should have been in early access for like 6 months, a year. Apart from the map missing, it does feel like it's missing a couple of quality of life things. Maybe the option to build forward bases, something like that, so you can rest at campfires out in the world, but being able to access storage from outside of your house would be quite nice, because when I'm running around at this point, and that's only about 4 hours in, I'm just leaving stacks of items on the ground because I'm digging them up from the little shovel mounds, and also you just don't have very much storage space. You can expand it, As you get further into the story, you learn crafting recipes for new backpacks, and each new one gives you 4 additional inventory slots. But even with those, I think I'm on the 3rd tier now. I'm still like pretty much always at max inventory space. Having said that, it does have some really good quality of life features already. One of them is that when you're at your house, you can, if you go to the crafting bench, you can access all of your items in the storage to craft things without having to take them out into your inventory. Absolutely love that. Like if you've got all your wooden logs in your storage, not on your person, you can go craft planks with them instead of, and you don't have to keep them on in your pockets, which is really nice. Another really nice quality of life feature is when you knock down a tree and you've got like 4 sticks lying on the ground. You don't have to press A, I was using a controller, on each of them to pick them up. You can actually hold the interact button and it'll pick up all of them in one go. That's absolutely wonderful. Love that. That is such a great thing to have right at the start of the game. But yes, it definitely does have some issues. The lack of the map is mentioned in, I think, practically every single Steam review, and it desperately needs to be there. The shovel mounds being just incredibly overpowered and really negating huge parts of the game it's okay, I guess. You know, it's not the end of the world, but it does feel a little bit strange that all your food you could ever need, you just find from digging up like full meals from the ground. So I would tentatively recommend Winter Burrow, but again, I would wait for it to have some updates, make sure a map has been added, because it is gonna be really difficult to play it, and especially to take a break from it if you don't have a map, and it's just so easy to get lost. And I would also make sure you know that it is more story driven than just a normal survival game. There's no day 1, day 2, day 3 counter or anything like that. Survival really does feel like it takes a bit of a backseat on your way to completing the main story. There you go, that was a look at Winter Burrow. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!